He was like fully naked on top of me, like grinding against me.
He raped me several times, and I thought I was gonna die.
I tried to crawl away and he pinned me down with his leg.
These women all shared a terrible experience. They say they were sexually assaulted, only to have their cases ignored by law enforcement.
It just made it clear that they didn't believe me.
They have only made it feel like it was my fault.
I mean, it felt more like they were trying to find evidence against me rather than for me.
Their rape kits went untested for years.
I went 9.5 years thinking my rape kit was tested. I had no idea it had not been processed.
Or were never tested at all.
It's horrendous that they think that some action is being taken when it actually isn't.
For years, New Jersey has claimed it had no backlog of untested rape kits.
And that's something that we pride ourselves here in New Jersey.
But our investigation finds thousands of kits are collecting dust because prosecutors have chosen not to test them.
The kit sitting on a shelf untested is really a demonstration of how the criminal justice system treats sexual assault.
For more than 3 years, Kane In Your Corner has been investigating the treatment of rape survivors in New Jersey. Treatment which often makes them feel like they've been victimized again, this time by the system that was supposed to help them.
People who were supposed to help me just kind of made it feel like everything was my fault.
When you do find the courage to report it, it's almost written off as nothing more than a he said, she said.
It's a big deal, and for them to not treat it as such is just, it blows my mind. It's a felony. It's not somebody stealing your toy on a playground, it's a felony.
I couldn't really escape.
Lena Morrison is haunted by the memory
I couldn't move, like he was stronger than me.
of what happened to her inside this dorm at Ramapo University.
I kind of just had to lay there while he just kept having sex with me.
Lena says she came to campus to meet a man she'd been talking to on a dating app, but things quickly spiraled out of control.
We wrapped his arm around my throat, kind of like in a chokehold. I was just thinking, like, what if I pass out? Like, what if he kills me by accident?
After her assault, Lena went to the hospital to undergo a forensic exam.
We had to swab the inside and just everything around, and that was really painful.
A trained sexual assault nurse looking for DNA her attacker might have left behind.
I know she was, like, doing her job, but it just felt kind of violating after something already really violating.
But Lena's ordeal was for nothing.
We're calling you and notifying you that the investigation is closed.
The Bergen County Prosecutor's Office told her it would not be pursuing her case.
We don't have something that rises to the level of a criminal charge.
He just sounded so condescending. He was like, well, you went there for consensual sex, did you not? And I'm like, what does that have to do with him choking and raping me? Like, I didn't consent to that.
And it's not like Lena hadn't provided evidence. Armed with a digital recorder, she'd even met her attacker for coffee and gotten him to admit what he'd told police was a lie.
I talked to a lawyer and I explained, I told them the truth, and she looked at me and she said, what you just admitted to me could land you in a federal prison.
Prosecutors told Lena it still wasn't enough to proceed.
They still said it wasn't enough because he didn't actually use the word rape.
So Lena tried again, and incredibly, she got another confession.
Just one last time, then we can leave this behind us, honestly.
I apologize for raping you, and I apologize for what was done. I'm sorry, and I'll truly live with the guilt for the rest of my life.
Lena was convinced this was the evidence prosecutors would need.
Like, you said that he never said the word rape, and I got him to say it.
Prosecutors still insisted they could not move forward.
At the end of the day, Ms. Morrison, he's not a detective. His definition of sexual assault doesn't meet our definition of sexual assault.
Is there probable cause to charge for that? In my mind, based on what you're telling me, absolutely.
Because prosecutors never decided to pursue the case, Lena's rape kit was never tested.
It could probably just be in a box sitting somewhere, for all I know.
What happened to Lena is not unusual. Our investigation finds 1/3 of all rape kits released to law enforcement in New Jersey are never tested. They're just sitting, gathering dust on shelves or storage units across New Jersey.
There are just case after case after case of individuals who were just thrown away and just discredited from step one and case closed before an investigation even started.
Testing of rape kits also varies dramatically from one county to another. In Atlantic County, 96% of rape kits released to law enforcement are tested. But Bergen County, where Lena was assaulted, has one of the lowest rates of testing. Just 19% of the kits released to law enforcement are tested there. And from 2018 to 2020, Hunterdon County did not test a single rape kit.
When those kits are just stuck on a shelf and they're not processed, it says to the survivor that that crime's not taken seriously.
The Bergen County prosecutor declined to comment on Lena's case, but said they may not test DNA for several reasons, including if they think testing will not lead to a conviction.
I think I'm a very outgoing, tough individual. I think I kind of face fear without hesitation.
This woman says being sexually assaulted left her emotionally scarred.
I was in therapy every single week, so I couldn't sleep in my own bed because I was assaulted in it.
She's asked us not to reveal her name, so we'll call her Jane.
It impacts you. You can't really get away from it, especially when you're fighting for yourself, to have people take care of you the way they're supposed to.
Like Lena, Jane met her attacker on a dating app.
I had just had my wisdom teeth taken out, so I was still, like, my face was swollen, and he had asked me, like, to go out on a date or go to a bar, and I was like, I'm in no shape to do that. So it was kind of just decided, like, how about I come over and we watch a movie, just hang out.
It sounds like you were very clear with your expectations.
Yeah, I thought I was just gonna be, sitting at my house and watching a 2-hour movie with a guy.
But obviously, that's not what happened.
No. He just kept going and going, and it hurt, and I said that it hurt, and I said, like, that I didn't want to kiss him anymore. I was like, this is bad, this isn't gonna stop, is it? The safest option for me seemed to be just, get through it, and then you can have law enforcement deal with him later.
But the Passaic County prosecutor chose not to deal with Jane's case.
Based on what we have right now, we're not in a position to move forward with criminal charges.
I've been told that basically unless it's recorded on a camera or there's a witness to see it, that it won't go anywhere.
Like Lena, Jane also underwent a forensic exam.
I would call it invasive. A woman I've never met putting a Q-tip in me, it's very uncomfortable.
But prosecutors told her there was no point in even testing the DNA.
Any presence of DNA won't answer the question of consent, and it won't prove or disprove whether any activity meets a legal standard of a sexual assault.
I expected, once I released it, for it to at least be tested. If he's doing this to me on a first date, how many other women has he done that to this week?
For years, New Jersey has claimed that when it came to handling rape kits, it was leading the nation.
We don't have a backlog in this state, and that's something that we pride ourselves here in New Jersey.
A state audit found the same thing, no backlog. But Kane In Your Corner analyzed years of data on rape kits in New Jersey, and we found 3 in 4 take longer than 30 days to test. 30 days is the definition the federal government uses to classify a kit as backlogged.
If the federal standard is it must be tested within 30 days, then it should be tested within 30 days. And if there is a reason to go beyond 30 days, then that should be well documented.
But our investigation finds New Jersey also has a hidden backlog that doesn't show up in any statistics. Hundreds of rape kits each year from people like Lena and Jane that prosecutors have simply chosen not to test.
It is one of those kind of shaking your head moments. Why wouldn't you test the evidence before you would make a decision?
From 2020 to 2022, more than 2,000 rape kits went untested in New Jersey. About a third were hold kits, meaning the survivor chose not to release them. But 2 out of 3 were from people like Lena and Jane, who wanted their rape kits tested for DNA. Because the kits were never sent to the lab, the state does not consider them backlogged. It doesn't even have an inventory on how many there are. It's like they don't exist.
If your kit has not been tested, and it's been years, doesn't matter where it is lodged in terms of who has possession. No, the point is that it's a backlog because it hasn't been tested.
Do you think they should test the sample that they have? Compare it with samples from other unsolved crimes?
I think they should. I don't see why they wouldn't. I'm sure I'm not the only one that he's done this to. And nobody's trying to prevent it. Nobody cares to stop that.
We wanted to talk to the Passaic County prosecutor about its policy on testing rape kits, but they did not reply.
Coming up, could testing every kit prevent crime?
You know, the man that assaulted me was on a nationwide crime spree.
When our Kane In Your Corner investigation continues.
I went into my apartment and there was a man holding a gun, just almost appeared out of nowhere.
Natasha Alexenko was 23 years old when she was sexually assaulted on the roof of her apartment building in Manhattan.
He led me up to the rooftop landing in my building, all the while holding a gun to my head, and he raped me. And I thought I was gonna die.
When the horrifying ordeal was over, Natasha had one thing on her mind: helping catch the man responsible.
My roommates urged me to go have a rape kit done. It was important to collect that DNA, to find the man who assaulted me, and to ensure that he was not able to harm others.
And then, for a decade, Natasha heard nothing.
I started blaming myself. I thought that I did something wrong, that, you know, because my recollection of the man that raped me, my inability to identify him or describe him in detail.
Almost 10 years after her assault, Natasha got a call from the Manhattan DA's office telling her her rape kit had finally been tested. It had been one of 11,000 kits backlogged in New York City alone.
I hated myself for 9.5 years until I found out that it wasn't my fault. My rape kits had simply not been processed.
When the NYPD finally tested Natasha's rape kit, they found she'd been the victim of a serial rapist.
The man that assaulted me was on a nationwide crime spree.
If Natasha lived in New Jersey, her rape kit might still be sitting on a shelf somewhere. Our investigation finds rape survivors are treated very differently from one state to another.
Connecticut has no untested rape kits. Each kit is tested at the crime lab. New York passed a law requiring all new rape kits to be tested, but the state is still working through its backlog. But New Jersey is one of just a dozen states where prosecutors can choose not to test a rape kit, even if the survivor wants it tested.
It feels a lot more humiliating having people say, you know, we found all of this DNA evidence on your underwear from the mail, but we're not going to see if we can match it to this guy.
Most of victims expect that if they go through this process that the evidence will be used, that it will be tested to potentially find the person who committed this crime against them.
In 2022, former New Jersey State Senator Nia Gill wrote a bill that would have required all rape kits released to law enforcement in New Jersey to be tested.
It's test all kits bill, no discretion.
But the bill never made it out of committee, and Gill is no longer in office. So why is New Jersey so far behind the rest of the country?
Should prosecutors be allowed to override a survivor's wishes and refuse to test a cat?
In an ideal world where resources were never an issue, we could test all kits, but I don't know that we get different outcomes through the criminal justice process.
The New Jersey Attorney General's office insists it's not necessary to test every rape kit.
I mean, 75% of sexual assault survivors actually know the person who caused them harm. And so the idea that a kit is going to identify a perpetrator is sort of a misnomer.
Some advocates say that kind of thinking is a big problem.
Most criminals are not specialists. They're not just committing one crime and stopping. They're generally serial offenders. And you don't get those connections in many cases unless you connect them by DNA.
Just look what happened in Wayne County, Michigan. prosecutors there tested over 11,000 backlogged rape kits. They closed over 4,000 investigations, identified 841 serial rapists, and put 239 sex offenders behind bars. Advocates say if New Jersey tested every kit, it might get the same kind of results.
If prosecutors and detectives and law enforcement and the judges are saying we need physical evidence, right? Well, there's the physical evidence. Test it.
Last year, New Jersey did put limits on when prosecutors can choose not to test a rape kit. For example, they can no longer decline to test simply because the victim is accusing a spouse or partner. But advocates say that doesn't go far enough. They say prosecutors should just test every kit.
As prosecutors, our job is always to seek the truth. And the truth is we have crime scene evidence, we should be testing it.
What would the harm be in testing it?
So when you send a kit to the lab for testing, you are opening up the subject's specimens to a whole universe of scrutiny. A sexual assault survivor's consensual partners can also be picked up.
Advocates say that argument doesn't hold up.
That consensual partner's DNA never goes into a database. So they can eliminate that right at the lab.
Some in law enforcement say there could be another problem with trying to test every kit: money.
The lab is under great stress. Pretty much most of the state, including state investigations besides the county prosecutors, are sending results there for forensic examination and testing, and it just overwhelms the system.
But while prosecutors may question if New Jersey can afford to test all kits, advocates say we can't afford not to.
Testing rape kits actually saves money. We have research now from several different universities and from different sites that have been testing their rape kits. If you catch one offender who's going to commit crimes over 40 years, you're going to save money.
Natasha Alexenko says in the 9.5 years her rape kit went untested, she felt like her life was on hold. She now works as an advocate for survivors and hopes someday all rape kits are tested in all 50 states.
Each rape kit represents a human being who's gone through trauma, who perhaps is unable to move on. That's a life in those kits.
Our 3-year Kane In Your Corner investigation is having an impact.
The failure to take seriously the claims of a rape victim and to investigate rape violates international law.
When we come back, is New Jersey's treatment of rape survivors a human rights issue? And could change finally be coming?
There's just a whole textbook of reasons why these kits should be tested. There's no question anymore. It's the right thing to do.
When our Kane In Your Corner investigation continues.
Before I met him, I had an idea of what Satan would look like. Handsome, and humanly so.
Coley Marie started writing poetry to heal from the trauma of sexual assault.
I soon came to realize that's not what Satan looks like at all. He looks like you and me.
Coley Marie was raped on a first date. She was just 17.
I kept saying no, until he finally just pushed me down towards his genitals.
She says when she reported the crime, police didn't take her seriously.
They thought I had just gotten out of a relationship with this person, which I didn't, and that I wanted revenge.
By the time Coley Marie worked up the courage to report her sexual assault, it was too late for police to check for DNA. But our investigation finds that may not have made a difference. 1/3 of all rape kits released to law enforcement in New Jersey are never tested.
I expected, once I released it, for it to at least be tested.
It could probably just be in a box sitting somewhere, for all I know.
It's horrendous that they think that some action is being taken when it actually isn't.
The International Human Rights Clinic at Rutgers Law School says what our investigation uncovered is nothing less than a human rights violation.
The failure to take seriously a claim of rape and to actually devote the resources to investigate that rape within a timely fashion violates the rape victim's human rights.
The clinic is asking the United Nations to investigate what it calls the deliberate failure to test DNA in rape kits.
We really hope that the work that you're doing, the work that we're doing, the work that other advocates are doing really bring this to a fore.
Others are also trying to change the way rape kits are processed. The Joyful Heart Foundation is lobbying New Jersey lawmakers to join 37 other states in requiring all kits to be tested.
It's the right thing to do. There's no question anymore. It's the right thing to do.
And the U.S. Justice Department has issued guidelines directing law enforcement agencies to prevent what it calls gender bias in rape investigations. The DOJ specifically singling out law enforcement's failure to submit sexual assault kits for testing.
We think a simple fix is for the federal government to say, you must test rape kits, period.
I think we need to remember that these are people. Like, these aren't just case numbers, they're not just stories. These are people who have gone through this